Elon Musk recently showed clear signs of distress regarding the Jeffrey Epstein documents, and his efforts to redirect the conversation appear to be backfiring significantly. The trouble began when Congresswoman Summer Lee appeared on MSNBC and stated that Musk would receive a subpoena. The House Oversight Committee is seeking direct explanations. They intend to question him closely. In response, within just a few hours, Musk began a rapid series of posts during the late hours of the night. His current stance on these documents stands out as quite striking. He now describes them as an irrelevant sideshow with no real importance. This comes from the same person who earlier insisted he had worked more diligently than anyone else to make those documents public. Allow me to walk through the specific comments that set off this strong reaction. I want to bring up one name that appeared in the released materials. You may recognize him, Elon Musk. Here are portions from emails sent by Elon Musk to Jeffrey Epstein back in 2013. Keep in mind, this occurred well after Epstein's conviction as a sex offender and long after details about his actions had become widely known. In one message, Musk refers to himself and his girlfriend at the time, Tallulah, asking what date would feature the most extravagant gathering on Epstein's private island. He directly inquires about the timing of the biggest event there. In another exchange, Musk mentions plans to be in the British Virgin Islands and St. Bart's region during the holidays, and he asks whether there would be a convenient window to stop by. Epstein replies that any day between the 1st and 8th would work, suggesting they could decide as things unfold and noting there would always be room available. Records also indicate that Musk arranged a visit for Epstein at SpaceX facilities. Questions arose about when Epstein could come to SpaceX to meet with Musk. All of this suggests the two had more interactions than what had been publicly understood before. Here is my straightforward take on the matter. From the start, Democrats on the oversight panel have held the position that accountability must apply equally, no exceptions, whether the individual involved is a Democrat, a Republican, a member of royalty, or even a former president. The problem arises when figures like Elon Musk or President Trump appear in these records. In those cases, the response from certain quarters goes quiet. Yet when others are named, there is immediate pressure to label it a partisan issue. That pattern raises serious questions about whether the commitment to genuine accountability and openness is consistent. There needs to be equal determination to bring everyone forward for review. When Republicans handled that subpoena effort back in July, they made sure to include additional names. However, they have not moved to subpoena Elon Musk. They have not issued one for the president either. These are individuals now confirmed to appear in the materials. I would urge them to apply the same level of urgency so we can truly uncover the full picture. To be absolutely clear, no one is alleging criminal acts by Elon Musk simply because his name shows up. Being referenced in the documents does not automatically indicate wrongdoing, especially not at a level that would support charges. At the same time, the public has every right to reach their own judgments about prominent figures based on what is documented. For example, cases where someone like Larry Summers sought guidance from Epstein on personal matters, or inquiries about arranging introductions to women, or questions about the most lively events on the island. People form opinions about associations like these in all kinds of situations. While I am not advocating for judgment based solely on proximity, the release of complete records allows for informed views. Congresswoman Summer Lee was direct. Musk will face a subpoena because the committee requires clearer details about his ties to Epstein. That public statement prompted an instant reaction. Musk dedicated much of Saturday morning to a flurry of posts aimed at protecting his image and reframing how people view the documents. Let me outline what the recently made public records actually reveal, because they directly challenge some of Musk's earlier claims. Musk has said in the past that Epstein made multiple attempts to persuade him to travel to the island, but that he consistently turned those offers down. He has presented himself as someone who maintained clear distance from Epstein. The fresh documents paint a contrasting picture. Email records indicate Musk actively expressed interest in receiving an invitation to Little St. James, Epstein's island. Rather than rejecting approaches, he appeared to pursue the opportunity. Musk also asserted in 2020 that Epstein had never been given access to tour any SpaceX location. Yet the materials contain correspondence suggesting Musk extended a personal invitation for Epstein to visit SpaceX in 2013. These points create clear inconsistencies between Musk's public remarks and the documented exchanges. His approach to addressing these points has involved considerable redirection. He began by stating that no individual had advocated more strongly than he did for making the Epstein documents available, and he expressed satisfaction that it had finally occurred. He then acknowledged having only minimal contact with Epstein, turning down repeated suggestions to visit the island or travel on the associated private plane, while recognizing that certain messages might be taken the wrong way by critics. Before long, the emphasis shifted. Toward the end of his series of posts, Musk argued that the true focus should not be on portions of the Epstein records being made public, but instead on holding accountable those who engaged in serious offenses alongside Epstein. He suggested that real progress would come only with at least one arrest. Otherwise, the entire discussion amounts to empty gestures, merely a way to divert attention. Consider that statement closely. The person who once took credit for pressing hard to disclose the files is now labeling the same files as something unimportant and theatrical. These are the very records that highlight inconsistencies in his own accounts. They include evidence of him inquiring about island visits. Yet suddenly, those materials are dismissed as a diversion. His turn toward calling for legal action against offenders is telling in its own right. Musk insists that individuals who participated in grave crimes with Epstein must face charges. However, statements from the Trump administration, including from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, have indicated that simply associating socially with Epstein does not constitute a criminal act. So the position becomes difficult to reconcile. If genuine offenses exist that warrant pursuit, why has the Department of Justice not acted? If no such offenses are present, what is the basis for Musk's push for arrests? He seems to argue both sides at once. The documents are unimportant, yet prosecutions are essential. Prosecutions are the priority, but the evidence in the documents is superficial. The reasoning lacks consistency because the goal is not clarity, it is to generate uncertainty and redirect scrutiny. Look at the broader timeline involving Musk's ties to Trump and these Epstein records. During periods when Musk and Trump were at odds, Musk positioned himself as a strong supporter of complete openness, release it all, reveal every connection. After their reconciliation, government contracts with the Pentagon were renewed for his companies. Substantial funding for artificial intelligence initiatives came through. With restored favor in administration circles, the documents are now framed as something to overlook. The instruction becomes, pay no attention to what they show. Instead, concentrate on prosecutions that the current leadership has already described as unnecessary. The change in direction is plain to see. The reasons behind it are evident. One habit in media coverage deserves mention here. When discussing the Epstein documents, many interviewers routinely note that simply appearing in them does not prove criminal involvement. That statement is accurate on a technical level, but the repeated emphasis on this point achieves something specific. It downplays the weight of recorded links to someone convicted of human trafficking. What exactly drew so many influential and affluent individuals into Epstein's circle? Were they there for casual sports, creative hobbies, or ordinary social meals? Epstein operated a network centered on criminal exploitation. Those around him did not cross paths by chance. Connections existed for particular purposes. The released materials detail those links. When officials reframe participation in his world as harmless socializing, they reshape the nature of a trafficking enterprise. When journalists repeatedly stress that mentions carry no automatic guilt, they contribute to that same effort to reduce concern. The documents hold value because they map out associations. Who was involved, to what degree, and in what ways. That context remains important even if it does not immediately trigger legal cases. This leads directly to the matter of pursuing charges. Musk calls for arrests, but examine the actual record of action. The previous administration under Biden secured a conviction against Ghislaine Maxwell, who is now imprisoned. That stands as the primary significant case brought forward. What steps has the current Trump administration taken? They arranged for improved conditions for Maxwell. They have publicly stated that spending time socially with Epstein breaks no laws. They have prevented open testimony from figures like the Clintons. At every turn, they have worked to lessen the perceived importance of these records. If Musk is serious about seeing charges filed, he should address that expectation to the administration he now supports. They hold the authority to act, they are the ones deciding against it. Naturally, Musk avoids that direct challenge because the call for prosecutions lacks real intent. It serves as another layer of redirection, insist the documents are irrelevant, emphasize the need for action that is unlikely to occur, and count on public attention shifting elsewhere. What this intense reaction from Musk makes clear about the Epstein matter today includes several key points. First, the documents hold details that influential figures prefer to keep out of close examination. Musk's rapid, overnight series of posts following Summerlee's subpoena statement shows that if the contents posed no concern, such urgency would be unnecessary. Second, Earlier explanations are falling apart under scrutiny. Musk's prior assertions about refusing invitations clash with evidence of him expressing interest. His denial of Epstein visiting SpaceX faces contradiction from email records. When public positions do not align with verifiable documentation, trust in those statements erodes. Third, consistent explanations no longer exist across the board. Musk now calls the documents a sideshow. Trump pushes for scrutiny of the Clintons. Todd Blanche maintains no basis for charges exists. Others block testimony while claiming support for openness. The messages conflict because each party is protecting their own position. Fourth, the possibility of a subpoena carries real weight. Summer Lee and the oversight team are actively moving forward. Musk's response confirms he views it as a credible concern. With subpoena authority in Democratic hands, testimony and records can be compelled. That explains his preemptive attempt to characterize the documents as meaningless theater. In the weeks ahead, several developments merit close attention. Monitor whether the subpoena is formally issued. If Summer Lee proceeds, Musk will need to provide official answers. Social media statements will not be enough. Look for additional mismatches between past public comments and emerging records. Musk's situation suggests similar issues may surface for others, given the broad scope of the materials. Pay attention to any decisions on prosecutions from the administration. Musk has demanded arrests. Will any materialize? If none do, that demand rings hollow. Keep an eye on the dynamic between Musk and Trump. They stand aligned at present, but both have records of shifting away from partners when it suits their interests. Should Musk become more of a risk, distance is likely. Elon Musk has shifted from strongly advocating for the release of these documents to portraying them as an unnecessary diversion. He has moved from insisting he rejected Epstein's approaches to facing evidence that tells a different story. He has gone from presenting himself as a champion of transparency to engaging in urgent late-night efforts to manage fallout. This visible distress speaks volumes. When prominent individuals react with such intensity, it signals genuine concern over what the records contain. Summer Lee is pressing for clear answers. The Oversight Committee seeks to understand the true nature of Musk's connection to Epstein. The documents offer proof that challenges his earlier accounts. No volume of social media activity alters those underlying facts. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We will continue covering each new detail, every inconsistency, and all attempts to reshape the Epstein narrative. Give this video a like. Share your perspective in the comments about Musk's reaction. Pass this along to anyone convinced these documents hold no significance. Keep pushing for clarity. Stay aware of the developments. I will be back with the next update soon.